There's Mayenda in behind here. Mayenda bobbling goalwards and in. Mayenda waiting here. He's done it again.
Hello and welcome to Black Cats Chat, the international fans podcast for Sunderland FC. My name is Lee Thirkell. I'm from the Bilbao Black Cats, and tonight we've got an all NASA, SAFC NASA takeover. We've got Sean Coxon. He's originally from Dunston in, what we say, Tyne and Wear, or do we say County Durham, or what do we say, Sean?
It's whatever. County Durham, we'll say.
County Durham. But now he lives in New Jersey in the USA. And we've also got Jonathan Williams. He's a Canadian. He's a Mountie. He's from Edmonton. Sorry, Jonathan.
Okay.
He's from Edmonton in Canada. And anyway, guys, how are you tonight? You all right?
Good.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've just seen the lads get a 2-1 win against Sheffield Wednesday. Puts us on 65 points after 35 games. Burnley haven't got a game tomorrow because they're in the FA Cup, but they're on 68 points, one game less. Sheffield United are a QPR, or play QPR tomorrow, and they're 70 points. But anyway, Sean, first impressions of the victory tonight?
I mean, it wasn't pretty, but you know what? It was important to bounce back, wasn't it? And I was actually pleased he made a few changes. I thought we've all said it, he needed to, give Riggy a rest. And I was delighted, that Mayenda started through the middle because I think he's class through the middle. I really do. I was a bit concerned about Helder, however you say it, because he cannot defend for Toffee, can he? But other than that, I'm pleased Brown came back. So, yeah, I'm happy. Listen, we had to dig it out, but a win's a win,
Yeah. Jonathan, your sentiments on the match?
Yeah, I would agree pretty much with that. I think we started as we usually do lately, which is kind of on the back foot, which wasn't lovely. And then it sort of picked up, and I think we were much stronger as the game wore along until towards the very end, I would say. So, yeah, it was good if worrying game.
Yeah. I mean, Sean, you mentioned there the changes. I think the biggest one was leaving with Isidore out. Were you surprised at that?
I was. I mean, there was a bit of rumours going around that he had a knock, but yeah, I was, because for me, I thought I thought my end would have started anyway, but I actually thought he would have started on the right. What he usually does. But when I seen the team and Isidore was on the bench, he could only have been injured. He had to have been. You would, because there's no way you're leaving him out, is there? I just don't think you are. He's your top scorer, he's top drawer. You're not leaving him out. So, but I'm delighted for Isidore. I mean, my end, honestly, I can't speak highly enough of him. So he took his chance. So yeah. Happy.
And then Jonathan, the other big decision there was two more decisions, wasn't there? There was Chris Rigg, he got left out. Alan Brown came back in. But I mean, Rigg is someone that's been, I don't know, asking to be taken out of the team last couple of games, hasn't he? Because he looks kind of like knackered. And so Alan Brown came back in. I don't think he was anything spectacular, but he was like steady away, gives Rigg a little bit of a breather. And I thought when Rigg came on, he actually had a spring in his step because he had that little bit of, I don't know, less pressure on him, perhaps.
Yeah, for sure. I think you have, it felt like to me they were using him to the point where it was like, you're going to wear the lad out. I mean, he's not going to have anything left. And that's the way they get injured at that age. And then all of a sudden you've got a repeat injury that continues over and over again because he's been overworked at 17. It's always kind of dangerous. So I think they should probably think about it all the way down the stretch, is maybe he plays every second game or comes on like he did tonight in the last few minutes and just use him sparingly instead of trying to drive him into the ground, especially if, we're struggling to get back to a qualification place. I get that. But at the same time, you don't want to ruin the kid's future trying to chase down something you may never get to anyway.
Yeah. And Sean, obviously, I mean, you sent me a message like at 2 o'clock in the morning Spain time, but probably early for you,
I
saying like,
apologize, by the way.
no, I was actually awake, man, because I'm like I'm a teacher, so I'm like exam
I
correcting. So
apologize.
I
Yeah, I
was
forgot all
awake,
about it.
I was awake, and you were panicking because Dennis Sirkin apparently he might have been in trouble, not
Yeah.
going to be playing, and obviously, listen, he wasn't playing tonight. He was on the bench. He came on. I don't think it was injury related to you.
Well, do you know, if he was, but obviously I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to get sued. If it's, but we all know what we're talking about, right? But I mean, if that's the case, right? Why would he be on the bench? I
Yeah.
said it in the NASA group, like you'd suspend him, wouldn't you? Altogether, you wouldn't put him on the bench. It doesn't make sense to go. I'm dropping you, but you're going to travel and you're going to be on the bench, and I'll bring you on. You'd just be suspended, I would think. So I don't even know if there's anything in it, I mean, because it doesn't make sense,
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, he hasn't had the best of times recently, has he not? I
He
mean,
hasn't, no.
I think since he came back from his wrist injury, he's been a bit hit and miss, hasn't he? So
Yeah,
perhaps it was kind of like, I don't know, planned as well to give him a little break.
could have
But
been. Yeah,
I mean, Leo Hilda came in. Listen, I like the guy. I think he's got a good personality, like for the club. I think he's like useful in the dressing room. But as a left back, I don't think he's a left back. I think he's a handy centre back. But you saw tonight when Mundell got the ball on the left wing, he was always looking for someone to go on the outside,
yeah.
and Hilda was never that far up, whereas Serkin would have been. So listen, if Hilda gets any pelters tonight, I'm gonna defend him because I don't think that was his role tonight. I think it was like basically he was just filling in to give some lad a rest. So yeah, I'm not gonna give like him too many pelters. I don't know what you thought about that, Sean.
Again, like I agree. I think when I've seen him at centre back, like I think in the cup against Stoke, he played centre back, didn't he? And I thought he looked pretty good. I agree. I don't think he's a left back. And because we were talking last night, and the rumor was Bainbridge was going to play, and I actually think you called it. You said I think Helder will play, and I forgot all about Helder, to be fair. And then I thought when I seen it, I thought, oh nah, because it's just Sunderland's luck, isn't it? Right? Because normally you would think, well, okay, Ballard and Mehmet centre back and 09 at left back, you'd be like, it's not even an issue, because we had but the fact that Ballard's injured, you just think it's typical of Sunderland, isn't it? Like we're now having to really reshuffle the back four, and they've been a pretty okay back four. But listen, I think the lad done what he had to do tonight. It wasn't a great, but it wasn't a bad one. And I think he got the assist for the goal, didn't he? With a little diag over the top. So for the
Yep.
first one, so
Yep.
fair play to him.
Yeah. And Jonathan, I mean, like I was watching the match with obviously I'm an English teacher and I teach business English, and I've got a student, adult student, and I invited them over to watch the match. And I basically told them that tonight's going to be a hard game at Hillsborough, Sheffield Wednesday. They're a good team, good crowd. I thought we have to weather the storm for the first 15 minutes because they're going to come at us. But it didn't really pan out like that, didn't it? I don't think like Sheffield Wednesday didn't really trouble us at
Well,
all.
yeah, and if you look at their record in the last 10 games, they've only won two. And in the last five, they've only got one win and one draw, and then everything else is losses. So to me, I think their morale is pretty bad right now. And I think that's probably why they were so out of sorts at the beginning. Because realistically, I mean, I was listening to somebody who said the other day that Sunderland's biggest problem is that we play a counterattacking football, but the counterattacking football only works against good teams. Against bad teams, we just basically end up on the back foot and they're mugging around until they get a shot. And it hurts us in a way because of we're not built to play the crap teams. Built to play the good ones. And I feel like that was kind of the issue tonight a little bit, but it was a lot less because of how bad Wednesday's morale or whatever it is going on right now with them as a club. There's something afoot because they just seem to be going straight down.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, I mean, the game, the first 10 minutes, it was, mainly Sheffield Wednesday, but without kind of threatening us. They weren't playing with a high intensity. They were kind of standing off, but when they got forward, they looked like they might do something, but we kind of dealt with it. And after that, I thought we kind of weathered the storm, and then we kind of got on the front foot a little bit. But again, I think we weren't kind of as committed as we used to be. We're kind of very conservative. And I think like the goal from Mayenda, it kind of shocked me. I didn't really expect it because I thought the game was going nowhere at that time.
Yeah, do you know I mean, listen, I've never said anything negative about Labrie until the last couple of weeks, and I think, and again, listen, we're in a good position, we are, right? But it's this whole keeping the same formation. Like, I don't think that formation's worked for weeks now. I really don't, and I think at 4-4-2, we look a real dangerous team. I really do. When you have Isidore and Mayenda through the middle, they scare the granny out of people because they're rapid, they've got good first touches, they're running behind. I just don't think this formation's working. And I think the problem we've got as well is Job. Job's now one card away from a 2-game suspension, and you can see it. He's a little hesitant. And I thought he was good tonight, by the way, but I just think he's not committing as much as what he did, because I think that's on his mind a bit. And I just think he's got to mix it up a bit more. And listen, credit to him, because he did go to 4-4-2, didn't he? At 1-1, he changed it. But then he goes back to 5-4-1. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? Like, we look really good at 4-4-2. Let's go and get a third and kill them. And he still gives her a nervy 10 minutes where you think, come on, son. You know, like, I'm saying in the NASA group, like, I'm calling them the French Southgate. You know, I'm like, it's like watching England. We can't play against the low block. We're really good on the counter-attack. When we play good teams, they're a real handful. And he's always second at the sub. I'm like, he's the French Southgate.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm getting a bit of grief for it, by the way. But, yeah, you know.
Yeah. No, and anyway, Jonathan, the goal came, and Mayenda, obviously, he justified his selection. He grabbed the brace against Sheffield Wednesday at home early in the season. I mean, I was at that game. It was like magnificent, that performance.
Yeah.
I wish we could play like that every game. And he grabbed the brace tonight, so he kind of justified his selection. But I mean, we were a bit lucky, weren't we? Because it did look like a handball. But I mean, because there's no VAR, I mean, listen, horses for courses. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it doesn't matter how it goes in, just as long as it does. But at the same time, not only was it lucky on that front, it was also lucky that the defender and the goalie were tied up, and it basically went past the two of them because of it. Because that was the slowest roll in. I swear, I thought that other defender was going to get to it. I was just like, oh no. So yeah, he's played really well, and obviously loves playing Wednesday because that's 4 goals. But you know, it'll be interesting. I think he's got something about him. He can get these goals, which I think is important. And hopefully Isidore isn't seriously injured, and it's just, you know, he's a bit needing a rest or whatever. But if he can come out with both of them, that would be great. But as you say, he doesn't like that formation. He likes to have that super defensive mindset, which I'm not a massive fan of, but you know, I get it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
You know,
yeah,
talking about the first goal, I was laughing at myself because that's normally the kind of goals we concede.
Yeah.
You know them
Absolutely.
stupid goals where you go, well, it was a handball, and then the defenders missed it, then it was a handball, and it's trickled in. How many times have you seen a goal of that and went, "Out, that's so Sunderland."
Yeah.
Like, to concede. So I just thought, good. I'm actually pleased it's happened, honestly. I mean, the second goal was brilliant, but that was my favourite goal because I thought, you know what? Good. It's about time we got a bit of luck, you know?
But like, Sean, you made a good point before about the formation and about like wanting to see Isidore Mayenda up front.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, like tonight when I saw like Mayenda starting and he saw on the bench, I thought, oh Christ, here we go. But I mean, listen, Mayenda's like kind of proved me wrong. But do you know what though? I think he had the same type of matches Isidore normally has, that he's quiet, but if he gets a chance, he'll put it away. But just imagine if we have those two up front. I mean, we've seen the partnership they can strike up with like the through balls that Mayenda's played for Isidore, etc. I think like if those two play together, they can be a deadly partnership. But I don't know, for whatever reason, Labrie is just really reluctant, isn't he, to go with that?
Well, do you know, he done it against Sheffield United, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And we steamrolled. They were terrified, man. They were, because if you look at the modern game, right, like most teams now, they just go the 4-3-3 or the 4-1-4-1, and they're just, defenders aren't used to playing against two centre backs, then centre forwards, they're not. And especially when Isidore's powerful, but he's lightning. I think Mayenda runs in behind. His touch is brilliant. Mayenda's first touch is really good. He's not the best finisher. And to be honest, Isidore scores brilliant goals and misses sitters. But the two of them have got work to do. But I just think in behind, they're going to scare teams to death, and it'll be interesting when Tom Watson comes back. Because something, I think he might even go Watson right, Mundell left, and put them two through the middle. I wouldn't be surprised because he's got to fit Watson into that team. And where else can you put him? So I don't know. I think that could be an option. So
yeah. I mean, Jonathan, like half-time approached, was 1-0. But I mean, I said to my mate, I said, listen, like we're winning 1-0, but you'll see the second half, Sheffield Wednesday will come out with higher intensity. They'll want it more. They'll show more aggression, and we'll be under the pressure. And like, what was it? 48 minutes, I think. 49 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was basically a goal from our own doing, wasn't it? Because I think it was it Mepham who gave the ball away. Or, no, first of all, there was a bad pass, wasn't it? I think it was Roberts who gave a bad pass back to Mepham, who tried to take it on. And then it was just basically a calamity of errors, wasn't it? A combination of errors.
Yeah, and they did that before because they did it with O'Neill where he passed that one back and it went to the keeper. If it wasn't for that, I don't know where the heck that ball was going to end up.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is they're doing when they do things like that. It's just like, where's your head? You're under kicking this ball and you're just hoping it's going to get back to him. Like, I don't understand it, but I've watched them do it a couple games now where the back pass just doesn't work and it leads to turnovers. And yeah, they're being told to do it, so that's why they're doing it. But at the same time, I don't think it's the safest play. And I got thinking about it and realizing that if 09's on the center left, and then his partner on the left is not normally at that position, I can see why he probably struggled a bit more than usual because it felt like he was having not the best of games for about the first 20, 30 minutes there because of that.
Yeah. I mean, Sean, when we're kids, we get told in training in that type of position.
If in doubt, put it out.
Rosette, right? Or if in doubt, Rosette or put it out. Exactly. And Mepham tried to be casual, got dispossessed. My mate was a bit critical of Patterson and his positioning. What do you reckon of his? Do you think he was to blame? I mean, I think there were other errors before that. But then he made a decision that kind of like he anticipated the ball might go over the guy's head and try and collect it, which was why he was more central to the goal rather than to the right. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Do you know what? I think the lad looks too heavy. I've been just joking, calling him Fatterson on the group. Listen, he's a good shot stopper, man. He is, and he's been brilliant for Sunderland. He has, but I just think he needs to get a bit of kite off him. I think. And he looks like he's got lead in his boots lately, and he doesn't give you confidence coming up his line. And I don't know. I think he may need a couple of games out the team. I really do.
Yeah, Jonathan, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I couldn't say whether I saw him being out of position as such. I thought that was more obvious in the previous game, where he was definitely badly positioned for at least one of those goals. And so I didn't really notice that as much, I guess. Maybe it's just I wasn't looking for it quite as clearly as because he hadn't made, because there was a lot of lead up to the problems that were happening last time, right? Like he had a few difficulties, but that one just, I don't know. I didn't see it as being that necessarily. I just saw
a major error, no?
Comedy of errors leading to a bad goal that we shouldn't have given up.
Yeah,
do you know what?
Yeah,
sorry,
on,
do you know what's obviously when 09 plays with Ballard, right? Ballard plays as the left centre back, doesn't he? And 09 plays as the right centre back. But when he plays with Mepham, they change positions. Old 09, listen, he's so versatile, man. He is, because like Jonathan said there tonight, right? He started the whole game with Ballard at right centre half. He's playing tonight at left centre half with Mepham. He's got a different left back in Helder there tonight when he's normally got Sirkin. He's just versatile as anything, isn't he? And because he does, no matter how he's playing again, because obviously Mepham prefers to be the right centre back, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the two. But
Yeah.
whereas Ballard's the left centre back,
Yeah.
so O'Nine's always got to alternate between who he's playing with.
Yeah,
Which
I don't think
again,
is a problem. No, I think he's kind of like, yeah, as you mentioned, versatile, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Jonathan, when they got that equalised, then what are you thinking? Like 48 minutes on the clock, Sheffield Wednesday get an equaliser at home. I'm thinking this is bad news. Like I'm thinking that the crowd's going to get behind them and they're going to kind of come at us, but it didn't really pan out like that, did it not?
No, it seemed like the start of the same old tune that we've kind of seen, right? Where they'll get one back, and then the next thing you know, it's like the 88th minute and they take the lead, which seems to be happening quite fairly frequently lately in this the bit of a losing skid we've had. But yeah, and very quickly it didn't feel like that. Like for a bit it was like that, but it was a very short amount of time, and then
Mhm.
you start to see it turn a little bit, and then they kind of changes up the side a bit, and that seems to help a little bit more. And there's a couple of good plays that Methan did defensively, which I think helped. So I I th- I think the difference is you have a couple of players like in Mundell, for example, who doesn't seem to get down in those situations. He seems, and because this is his first game back, I think that helped a bit because you didn't have sort of them fall off the way they do sometimes. So I don't know. I don't know whether that's a great observation, but it's just one of the things that I feel like is we didn't look as discombobulated just because we let the goal in, as so frequently seemed to happen, and then we get on the back foot and nothing goes right. But at the same time, that may be a portion of the fact that Sheffield Wednesday's been awful, and they can't get themselves going fast enough even when they're in that situation. But
Yeah. I mean, Sean, my mate made a point that the game favored us when the game was more open. Like if the game
Mm,
was kind of like slow and turgid and nothing was really happening, it didn't really favor us because we were too slow getting out to attack.
yeah.
But if the
mm,
game was stretched, we had the kind of like the potential to do something. And I thought like throughout the game, like Mundell and Roberts as our wingers, they weren't really involved in the game, so we didn't really look dangerous on the wings at all.
Yeah, do you know what? It's frustrating because you come out, you want it up, and you come out and you just think, just be solid for 20 minutes. Just get to the 65th minute, right? Make your changes, do what you do. If you need to see the game out, do it, right? But to concede after three, you're thinking, oh, nah, what are we doing? You know, and there's nothing worse, is there? Because you've done your half-time preparations and stuff, and then 3 minutes later they score, and you just think, why? You
Yeah.
know, like what you doing? But like you say, we struggled. Like look, at the start of the season, right, we'd have a poor first half and would be good second. That tend to be the pattern of the season, like especially at home. Like we'd be poor first half and would do well second half and would go okay. Lately, I just don't think we're playing well in any half. You know, and we're not, and it's worrying because the performances. I Results at this stage of the season are more important than performances. They are right. Like I've watched Sheffield United and thought they look crap, and I watch Burnley and think how the hell they're third. I'll never know, but they just don't concede. But results are more important, you know. Um, but we're not playing well, and that's a bit of a concern, you know.
Yeah. I mean, Jonathan, my mate asked me a question. He said, what do you put it down to? Do you put it down to tiredness or do you put it down to change of style by the coach? And I said, I don't know. I said, like, it's a bit of both. What do you
mm.
think? Like, I mean, what do you think?
Well, I suspect what you end up having, and I feel like you see this consistently with some sides, and I think this is an aspect of a combination of the fact that Sunderland's young, they're facing a lot of really good teams who are, you know, in some cases ex-prem teams last year who've come down and they've got the money and the effort to try and get back up again, right? And then you've got Leeds who really, really wants to get back in because they felt like they were kind of screwed out of it last year. And so with I think that combination, you kind of get to these times of the year and I see teams start to fall off, especially like the energy level, the injuries pile up. And hey, if there's one thing I've seen with our team is the injuries are piling up. And I think that's really taking a toll on the team because they're having to put in players that maybe the coach doesn't want to put in, but he has to. You know, you get a massive transfer in for Lefay and he's gone
Yeah.
effectively a month later for like basically a month, possibly two. And, you know, that kind of stuff is disconcerting and you lose a defender, you same situation, and you've just got back your left winger from similar injuries who had been out for 2 months. So that kind of stuff, I think, adds a knock-on effect. So that's why it's so critical to get points early, because the more points you can get early, the better your situation is. And if you look at it right now, I mean, Sunderland, for all the problems that we're seeing, are still over 10 points clear of the next team down. So they're in the playoff hunt. It's just a question of, can they get far enough up to get to the AQs and actually make a difference overall.
No, and I think you make a great point there. I mean, I was looking at the form of Leeds, Sheffield United, and Burnley, and I think like Leeds haven't lost a game apart from the FA Cup. Like lost against Millwall, they haven't lost a game since November, I think. So like they're kind of on the way with it. But like Sheffield United as well, I think they've got like 4 wins from 5. Burnley have got like 4 wins from 5 and 1 draw. So like I think like we are where we deserve to be, even though like we have played well against Burnley, we have played well against Sheffield United, and probably could have won the matches that we played against them. We drew and lost. But I mean, in terms of like the ones below us, like there's a huge gap between us and then West Brom, Birmingham, Blackburn and Coventry. But Sean, what was I going to say? Oh, it's gone now. My train of thought's gone. No, but Lebris and this reluctance to rotate, is it because he doesn't trust those players like Alexic type of players, like Al-Shish when he was here?
Well, do you know what? Sorry, excuse me. Jonathan made a great point there. When we're looking leggy in the mid, do you know what? I think it's a lack of experience in the middle of the pitch, because I'm not knocking. I thought Dan Neil was brilliant tonight, by the way, and especially for the second goal. I don't know if you've seen the work he done for that second goal. When he picks it up, he's turning, he draws the free kick. Watch that second goal. Dan Neil was brilliant, right? But when you've got a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, there's no experience in the middle of the pitch. And I think when Brown's experience, he's played a lot of games, hasn't he? And so has Samad to a certain extent. So I do think we need a bit more experience in the middle of the park. Alexic, every time I've seen the kid play, he's looked really good. Honestly, I think he has done. Like I've been impressed with him. He gets the ball, he runs with it, he wants to take players on. I don't know what it's weird, isn't it? Because when he come in, Lebris, right, he just completely shut out Bar, Bennett,
Ekwa, Pembele,
Bennett,
Al-Shish.
Bennett, whatever. And you look at it and going, he's just completely pied them off, right? And I don't know. I think he's just got a core of 14 or 15 players that he trusts.
But is that because of work ethic, though, do you think?
I mean, look, we don't see them in training, do we? Right? But I just think this is what I know. He's just like, if it's not working or you're struggling, like he's always second to me at the chain. I just think, just change it, Red. Just honestly, because we're not going to judge you on signings, right? You're not going to get judged on signings because they're not your signings.
Job. Yeah.
I mean, Lefebvre was. You could say it was, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, it's not your job. But you're going to get judged on in-game management and how you perform in games when it's not working. And as I say, listen, no fault of the man at all up until the last few weeks where I've thought he's pissing us off a bit now, excuse me language. Like he's just too negative. And yeah, like you say, I think Jonathan mentioned earlier, Riggs wrecked, man. And we done this with Callum Doyle a few years back.
Dan
where
Neil
we just
as well,
we
Job.
but Callum Doyle, we just ran the kid into the ground. Job, you've just said, I forgot about Job. You said it last season, Job. He was pagging up at Christmas, and we're doing the same with Riggy. And I think you've got to start rotating and shuffling your pack, which is what Sheffield United can do and Leeds do really, really well. You know, so he has to take more risks, especially going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and Jonathan, I've got my train of thought back. It was a point you were making about the Ballard and Lefebvre injuries. Yeah, you probably don't listen to BBC Newcastle, like Total Sport radio on the evenings, right? They have like a Sunderland Newcastle chat show. And Danny Collins, who was on FCSE Live, he was the guest speaker, and he was mentioning that Lebris has probably mismanaged Lefebvre, because since Lefebvre came, he's played every single minute of every game, or virtually every single minute. And he said that before he came, he'd only played 90 minutes in so many months because he returned from injury. and that he kind of like made a point that he could have managed them better, giving them like a breather here and there. And the same with Ballard. Ballard's had injury problems. We know since he joined Sunderland, he's always had injury problems. But he played a couple of games, and he's obviously injured again. So, do you think there's a point there that we could be managing like the minutes of the players better?
For sure. I think there's one of the issues I see happening right now with Sunderland, which I think it would be a problem if they actually make it up, is that because there's this emphasis on younger players, under 23, let's focus in on that because we can use them and then sell them on and make money off that. That's great and it works. But the reality of it is that then it leads to these kind of issues where you may have out of that group, you've got one or two that are older than that, and you're relying on them to carry the game. And like you said, it makes them susceptible to injury and all of these other problems. And when you have players that are already susceptible to injury, you're going to exacerbate those problems. And so if you over rely on the same group, it's just a matter of time before that happens. I don't think that's something that isn't obvious to most people, but I do think that in order for Sunderland to become a Premiership side instead of just a side who, pops up and down, which is what they were in the past, they're going to have to look at how they're spending their money and adding good quality older players that can toe the line and help and have the experience to be able to deal with a totally different playing style and method. Because you watch guys like '09 and kind of how he plays. I don't know if he gets away with 90% of what he's doing in the Premier League. Like if he tried all that stuff where he's grabbing the guy and leaning on him and doing all those kind of things where he's barely avoiding getting, a card, does he get away with that up in the upper league? Like, I don't know.
Not with VAR, no.
Yeah.
Sorry, like I've had this debate. My dad says, "Oh, we're not ready. We'll get battered in the Premier League." Dad, look, we're not going to be the same team in the Premier League.
No.
I'm like, because I don't know if you heard there was a debate earlier on TalkSport and on about Leicester, Ipswich, and Southampton saying they're getting smart.
Nope. Sean's gone off. But no, I think he was making a good point there, Jonathan. I think what he was trying to say was that Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton, I don't think that they're really prepared for the Premier League because I don't think their recruitment is as kind of like is as kind of rigorous as ours. I think ours is very in depth, and I think we're kind of preparing for future seasons, aren't we? And I think, listen, after tonight's performance, I don't think we'd be ready for the Premier League. I think we need a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I think that I trust the people in charge to get the right people.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with what we're doing. I think there's a lot of value in it. But the concern I do have is that what we might end up happening is we might lose Job in the summer. We might lose these players, especially if we don't go up. And then, we're investing all this time and effort into them and then they just disappear. And do we have easy replacements? That's the bigger thing. So Sean, back to you, but
yeah, train of thought, Sean.
Me laptop died. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm using my phone now because my laptop, I couldn't find the charger. Yeah, I was saying, like, obviously there was a bit of a debate about why teams are coming up and struggling and stuff. And, like, because I was saying, like, the boys on NASA the other day, I was like, well, Brentford seem to do well, Bournemouth, Fulham, teams have done well, right? I'm like, the problem with Southampton and Leicester is to just keep playing the same way and they're trying to play from the back and they haven't got the players. But I'm not worried about coming up because I think, well, like, in a way, I think to myself, Speakman got it right in League One. He's getting it right in the Championship. If you can spot good players, you can spot good players, and we'll be okay, and we have to get there first, don't we? But it shouldn't be a negative, and let's try and go for it as best we can, know?
No, and that's what we're pretty much saying. That I trust our recruitment.
Yeah.
I think like right now we're not ready for the Premier League. Absolutely not. But I think I trust our recruitment to bring the right type of player and the right caliber of player to make us competitive. And I think
Absolutely.
that's what Jonathan was like saying as well, and you were going to say as well, that more than Ipswich, Southampton, Leicester, that basically they're just gambling. I think they're just like gambling on.
Yeah.
And it's backfiring totally. But anyway, right, we're going to go to Mayenda's goal, Jonathan, as his second goal. I thought it was a very composed header.
Oh, it was really well done, really well taken. I thought it was a great goal, and yeah, can't really talk about that. What other than to say it was really well taken and huge to get a win, especially away. That's massive having that goal, and they that lead was, I think, the best thing that's happened to the team in a while, because it seems like we would get behind and just, or even in a drawing situation, and just suddenly collapse at the last minute. So it was nice to have it kind of almost turn on its head from normal.
Yep.
So,
right, listen, we're going to take a short break, but we're back in a second.
Hey guys, I'm Millie. I'm from Córdoba, Argentina, and I've been supporting Sunderland since 2014. Sunderland take over everywhere we go.
Okay, right, we're back then for part 2 of tonight's extended podcast. Right then, Sean, we finished off there part 1, talking about Mayenda's goal. Listen, I was chuffed to bits with the lad with his second goal, his fourth goal against Sheff Wed this season. I thought it was great movement, the way he peeled up to the defender and got the header in. I mean, last week we saw, was it against Hull? Isidore had a similar chance and he put it wide. And so I was just like really delighted that he got that second goal.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, I forgot actually, you're right there. It's his fourth against Sheffield Wednesday, isn't it?
Yep.
Forgot about that. Yeah, but do you know what? Like the whole I mentioned Dan Neil earlier, the build-up was brilliant. Like it was back to front quick. Neil's done well, he shifted it. Who put the cross in? Was it Hume?
I
Hume
think
put the
it
ball in.
was. I think
Yeah,
it
I
was.
think it was Hume or Robert. It was someone on the right. It was one of the two on the right, wasn't it? Great ball in the header was brilliant. And as I say, listen, delighted for the kid, because do you know something? I'll be fuming if he drops him for the next game, because remember against when he scored that against Derby and then he wasn't playing, and I'm going, what are you doing? Like, you cannot leave the kid out, man. Like, you tell a forward who's been coming in, take your chance, son, tonight. And he's done more than that. He's took his chances, and he's got to start the next game. He has to, and listen, delighted for him. Really happy. I think that's his first headed goal as well, There you go.
I think
There's
it is
one for
because
you.
I think it is because he's always like scored on the floor.
Aye.
Jonathan, would you agree with Sean's thoughts there that Mayenda is undroppable for the next game?
well, you would think so. Who
He has
knows?
to be.
But you would think so. It just depends. Are they gonna sit there and go, well, is Wilson ready to go next time? Like, is whatever's going on with him, is that basically the only reason why Maender even got a start? Or was it more the fact that they knew he had scored previously against Wednesday and thought, well, what we'll do is we'll bring him in because he's done well with them. And I don't know what the thought process is sometimes behind.
Do you
the
think that could
decision.
have been the thought process, or like psychologically, like he got 2
Could have
goals
been.
against?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Because like Lebris is that type of coach, isn't he, Sean? He is like kind
Yeah.
of like he loves like the mental side of the game.
It's a great point, that, because it could have well been, He may well have thought, because that home game, he terrorised them. If memory serves me right, he hammered them, And you're right, like Jonathan makes a great point there, he could have just thought, you've butchered them at Sunderland, go and do it again tonight.
Yeah.
So, because it'll be interesting. Was that the same? I mean, I don't know, I'll look it up later, but especially if that was the same back four that he played against at the Stadium of Light.
Yeah.
He may well have went, well, they're going to start the same back four, so you go and pummel them like you did at Sunderland. So, yeah, could have been that, It really could.
Yep. So like, listen, overall, we held on for the win 2-1. I mean, I don't know where the referee got 7 minutes from, like for the at a time.
Yeah, mate.
Even for the first half, he had like 6 minutes on. I was thinking like there was a stoppage, but was it that long?
Well, and not only was it 6 minutes, but it was about another 5 minutes after that they went beyond the 6 minutes, and I don't remember them
Unreal.
going down during that. So I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's like 30 seconds a goal it's meant to be, isn't it?
And it felt like Sunderland was just playing around, going, well, we're not going to carry it in because you're just going to blow the whistle. And I swear they spent 2 minutes just going back and forth in a big circle.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I was watching the match on a Sky Sports feed. I won't tell you how I got it, but
You
but
bounced your location
I
somewhere.
bounced my
Other
location. I
other
used
accesses may be available.
NordVPN from Sunderland FC.
You're in New Jersey.
I was somewhere near there, yeah.
Good lad.
Anyway, but everything that was on there, all the stats, right? Like my mate, I didn't really pay attention to it, but my mate was like saying, "Have you noticed all the stats are kind of favoring Sheffield Wednesday?" He was like, basically goals in the first 15 minutes, goals after falling behind, goals after half time, and it was all like in favor of. I was like, Jesus Christ, like Sky don't like us, do they not?
Do you know
Mm.
the don't, by the way, whether it's Hinchcliffe or Don Goodman, like Don Good, you know what? He was my boyhood hero, Don Goodman, right? And he's a right prick. He is.
I
Honestly.
I
And
swear I could have killed that announcer because I swear every time it was like, oh, Sheffield, da, 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 da," and it's like, what are you doing? Like even on my Anders handball, I was like, well, you could argue he was trying to tuck his arm in. It wasn't like a blatant, obvious one that they missed. And then the penalty, he immediately, or the appeal for a penalty, he immediately was like, oh, that wasn't a penalty. It's like, what do you mean it wasn't a penalty? It looked like a penalty from this angle. What are you looking at? It wasn't until you saw he caught the back foot just after the guy carried the ball. I mean, it's such a niggly thing, but he's always big. And having to put up with him from the last time I watched a game with him, I'm just like, can we not have him calling
yeah,
our games?
it's that
God,
Andy Hinchcliffe. He's a right toolie. For whatever
Yeah,
reason, he hates Sunderland for whatever reason. I don't know why.
yeah.
No?
yeah.
Well, and what annoys me is like, I don't know if it happens for your guys' broadcast, but for the broadcast I get to watch, you don't know who it is
Yeah.
because he never announces that he's the one announcing the game. So
Well,
you're just left
I've
there.
got,
Like,
I've,
dude.
I've got like obviously I signed up for Paramount, right? So we get every game, well, more or less. Every Sky game's on Paramount, but I've got a dodgy little IPTV, right? So I get SAFC.com free, right? Which I shouldn't say, but I do. And I love listening to Danny. The problem is the 2 or 3 minutes behind, right? Because obviously it's a stream.
Yeah.
And I'll get lads texting us going, what a goal. And I think, you knob, I'm 3
Yep.
minutes behind. So
Yep.
I tend to watch it on Paramount when it's on Paramount just because it's more in the moment, but I can't stand the commentary. It drives us mad. Like at times I just turn it off, you
This
know?
is the whole reason why when I used to subscribe to SAFC. They didn't even have for a while actual broadcasters on the video.
Yeah.
So you had to have the radio
Yeah.
feed on, and trying to get those two to
sync.
just
Oh,
never worked.
Do you know what? You're right. Because obviously I love Bennett and Nick Barnes, right? But you're not wrong.
Mhm.
Like I'm going to try and link the two of them up, right?
Yep.
But Nick Barnes, the radio's always way ahead. And
Mhm.
you'd be like, I'm not putting up with this because Nick Barnes is about 4 minutes ahead of us. And it just drove me mad,
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
And you'd put it on pause, and then you'd hope you're going to
Yeah.
be yelling. It's just so annoying. This is why I stopped buying it. So I didn't realize that it actually had commentators until this year.
Yeah,
was like,
Danny Collins and what's his face, old Frankie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, listen, you would have got your money's worth last week, Jonathan, because Frankie got shit on by a seagull. So
I like Frankie, He actually,
No,
he
I
gets
like him. He's
stick.
passionate. He's passionate, isn't he?
He is, man. He reminds me of Crabtree. Remember Crabtree? You
Yeah,
remember him,
Simon
like-
Crabtree.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love Crab. He was the same. He
Yeah.
used to get Crabbers was mint, man. He was dead passionate.
yeah.
And Frankie's the same. You
Yeah.
can't knock his passion, you know.
But, and apart from that, Frankie is from Sunderland, so you know what I mean. So
Yeah, Crabtree wasn't, was he? No.
Crabtree is from Lancashire, yeah. But he got it, didn't he? So
Oh, he's red and white Crabbers. I've seen him at Wembley and all sorts.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
He's Sunderland, daft him.
yeah. Right, but anyway, on to the performance. Then we held on 2-1, but do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I always try to watch the match, Sean, without rose-tinted glasses because we got this acronym of ethics. No, it's the hope I can't stand.
Yeah.
So like, I've been a fan for over 35 years. I'm 39 years older. I don't look it, but I mean, I look older. But I've been a fan for 35 years, so I've learned kind of like not to get too high, not to get too low. And I always try to keep like a balanced view, like not to put my rose-tinted glasses on. And I get criticized for that because like people say like, oh, it's a win, you know what I mean? But like my mate was saying tonight, he was like saying like tonight it seemed like Sunderland were very conservative. The right-hand side was a problem because every time Sheffield United looked dangerous, Sheffield Wednesday looked dangerous, it was down the left-hand side, our right-hand side.
Yeah.
And apart from that, he said like the only time we looked dangerous was when the game opened up. Like when the game was kind of slow, it didn't work in our favor. And he was saying that the tempo tonight seemed very similar to like a end of season game, like last game of the season type of game. And that kind of thought kind of stayed with me, and I thought that's how I felt for the last couple of months. I don't know if you feel the same.
Do you know what? Yeah, and again, I said it earlier. Like, I think we've been sussed out a little bit, and I think the formation isn't working. I think it'll change now. Mundell's back, because he's a natural left-sided player, and whereas we've had to put Lafay out there, and we've had to try, everyone out there. But I just think it isn't working, But listen, it's funny what you say about watching the game because I'm the opposite, I'm like, I don't know if you've ever heard Lee Howie comment. I love Lee Howie, right? He's the most, like, I'm the same. My missus will go, I'll go, it was never a foul, get up. And she'll go, like, shut up, man. If that's against Sunderland, you're going mad. And I'm just like, not a chance, get up. And, like, honestly, I'm the biggest knob, right? Like, my end has goal tonight. I'm going, nah, I never touched it, right? And she's going, bollocks. She went, if that's against you, you're going mad, right? And it's just the way I am with Sunderland. Nothing's Sunderland's fault. You know what I mean? And but yeah, like going back to performances, it hasn't been good since I think really do you know what I thought were brilliant at Middlesbrough? I honestly do. I thought were really good there. That was a really good win. And Sheffield United, other than that, Watford's Plymouth, it hasn't been good, and I just don't think it's working. And I think coming into this end of the season now, the business end of the season, I just think to myself, because I still think we'll win the playoffs, right? I've said all season we're going to win the playoffs. We are, right? I think we are. I'll stand by that. Onward day, we can beat anyone in that league. On a big pitch at Wembley, we'll win the game, right? And my dad keeps saying, "Oh, he's too negative. You can't be negative and get promoted." I want him to change a little bit more and be a bit more proactive. You know, but other than that, reactive. But other than that, listen, we got the win, and that's what's important.
Yep. I mean, Jonathan, I think like the next two games are absolutely huge because we've got two home games. We've got Cardiff next Saturday at home, and we've got Preston. I think it's the following Tuesday, or is it Wednesday? Tuesday, I think it is at home. If you get 6 points from there, and Burnley and Sheffield United slip up, I mean, we are right back in it, aren't we?
Yeah, all we need to do is just keep getting wins. I mean, it's simple.
Does it matter how? Does it matter how though?
Not to me, it doesn't. But at the same time, I mean, if I was a paying fan in the stadium, yeah, I would, because the last thing I'd want to do is watch a boring game. But at the same time, if I'm watching on TV, or if I'm in some cases finding out afterwards, I want them to actually win, and I don't really care how that win happens. And at the end of the day, it would be nice for them to climb back up there and actually put a threat on rather than just kind of tagging along like they are right now. They feel right now like they're on that bottom rung of just being above the middle. And so these are teams they've got to, and I don't mean middle, I mean just that follow-on group of like this 5 to 10 that are like really close to each other.
Yep.
And I think as long as we stay ahead of that, then at least we're doing something right. But it's key that we beat these teams that are below us.
Yeah,
we cannot afford to let them catch us out like we were getting caught out with Watford and all those guys.
There's more than one way to win a game of football,
Absolutely.
know. And I just think in the modern game, right, managers just don't want to know another way. They don't, and I'm not. You look at other teams and think just have some balls, and it doesn't matter how it doesn't whether you want to go a bit more direct or you want to go with two forwards or you want to play it. Because I was thinking about therefore, how's he going to get how are we going to get my end and Isidore up top, right? Still keep the three in the middle. And I thought, well, he's got to go with the back three if that's the case, right? If Ballard, Metham, and Onay. And then obviously typical Sunderland style, Ballard gets injured, right? And then you think, well, there's that out the window. There's that done. And then I was thinking, how's he going to get Enzo Lafay in the middle of the pitch? well, Mundell's back, that'll be great. Bang, he gets injured, right? And you just think, wow, like, it's just the Sunderland way, isn't it? You know, we do, like Lee mentioned earlier, about 35. I've been supporting Sunderland at the same time. I'm 40. I look a bit younger than Lee, I think, by the way, but, you know. Nah, but we do nothing easy. We don't. We just, like, I keep hearing people say, oh, we're going to smash someone one day and it's coming. And I was listening to predictions for the Plymouth game, people saying 5-0, and I'm going, not a chance. No way. We just don't do things easy, you know, which is why it'll be the playoffs, you know? So, yeah.
By the way, Sean, I'm 40 in April, so I'm catching you up, mate.
Good lad. I'm 41 in July. Get in.
I'm not saying my age on this call. Sorry.
There you go.
Because
No
I'm
worries,
older than both
Jonathan.
of you.
But Jonathan, do you think? I mean, it doesn't sound very nice, but do you think the Lefay injury could be like a blessing in disguise that we go back to our original way, and we're not kind of like dependent on this like new sign and 21 million his value is, and we get like the likes of Mundell back in, and we kind of like, I don't know, like regather that form that we had early in the season without him.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at the same time, would I like to see him in with Mundell right now? Yeah, I definitely would, because I think that would actually be very helpful. I don't know. I'm kind of concerned because I think what made us effective early on was that we would go for it. We would in those points where we were, you know, the ability to move forward was working really well. Well, we've stopped that long ago. And now it's more of a slog through games, and it's just trying to survive. Like Sheffield Wednesday shouldn't have been on the pitch with us tonight. They should have got it absolutely spanked, but we don't do that, as you guys said.
Yeah.
And so as long as that's the case, this is going to be from now until May. We're just going to be slogging along and punching with everybody, and rather than, you know, wiping the floor with teams, we're going to be just hoping to cling on and not give up that notorious goal right at the end of the game that has happened a few times.
Do you know what though, Jonathan? Right? I said this again to me that we're hard to beat. You know, we really are. Right? Like this is why I think we'll win because no one turns up and has the way with us. Like we haven't lost by more than a goal. Right? You know, you're in a game when you play with. We're always in the game. Right? And if we do throw it away, we throw it away at the end or whatever. But we are hard. That's the one thing he's done really well. He's really got us hard to beat. I think we are hard to beat, and teams don't want to play us. So I think that holds us in good stead. I really do.
Well, you know what impressed me, Sean, was the end of the game, the amount of bodies that were put on the line, like the block shots. I thought that was really kind of encouraging.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Jonathan, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, the reality of it is you think about the last couple of years in the championship, and you kind of get to this time of year, and we started to just get blown away by teams.
Yeah,
you know?
3-0 and stuff.
Yeah. So you're right. We're not going to get into that kind of situation because he's a different kind of coach than the others that we've had. And I think that's a good sign that the team has figured that part of it out. But it is maybe I'm the glass half full person here or half empty person here, but it's where I worry is that, you know, can they when it comes down to it, hold their nerve long enough to hold out for these wins and not get into a crappy draw or a bad loss that happens in the last minute. And that's where I want them to be more aggressive. I would like them to be an attacking side. I think in the championship, you can do that. You don't have to cling on when you're in the upper half of the side, you know, of the
Table.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
table.
score.
That's what I was looking for.
We score nearly every game. We
Well,
have got goals. We have got goals in us, and you know, we really have. Like, even if you look at Watford, but we still scoring. I think we went 5 games in a row and scored 2, and you're thinking we are scoring goals. We got 2 again tonight. We're scoring goals, so it's not a problem. Like, even against Burnley, right? Like, when we played them away, listen, we should have won that game, right? And you know, you score one of their penalties, you win the game 1-0. So we are hard to beat, and we've got a goal in with, and no one's going to have it easy against us, and no one's going to want us in the playoffs. They're not. So
Yep.
I'm confident.
And that's the mental thing, isn't it, Jonathan? That we seem to be kind of like criticizing the method of play, the style of play, that we're being very not as front foot as we used to be, yet we've still scored 52 goals this season, right?
Yeah,
And we're the fourth top scorers. I mean, Leeds have scored 71. Looking
Mhm.
here now, Norwich just scored 55. I mean, like half those goals were from Borja Sainz. Middlesbrough
He's
scored
mids him, isn't
50.
he?
He's a good
He's
player.
top draw him, isn't he?
Apart from being a wanker, yeah,
Yeah, he's class. I like him, mate. He's a shit house. I like him.
Well, you know what? He'll be going to Athletic Bilbao because he's a Basque player. You know,
Is he really?
he's
Ah,
born
he's mid,
15
I think.
minutes from where I live now. So yeah.
Yeah.
But then Middlesbrough have also scored 54, but they've got massive defensive issues. I mean, our defensive record is 32 goals. So like out of the top four, like obviously where we've conceded the most goals. I mean, Burnley've conceded 9, which is like ridiculous.
None.
And then you got like Sheffield United conceded 26, but they've scored 48. Leeds has conceded 21, but they've scored 71. So like we are score, but do you know what though, Jonathan, Sean, my mate tonight again, the things that as a neutral that you see, but as
Yeah.
a fan you don't see. You know what I mean? And he was saying how easy it was to go from defense to attack for the opposition. Like our midfield was like non-existent. And I was thinking, like, we've got 3 midfielders in there. We've got like what Brown tonight, Job and Neil. But he said like with one pass you can split our defense. And I think that's kind of been on my mind throughout the whole season. But I thought it wasn't a big issue. But tonight I kind of saw that how easy it was for teams to break through us.
Yeah, do you know what? Because listen, I think Job and Daniel had a really good game tonight. They've got a lot of blocks in and stuff, and I'm crying out. I'm crying out for this 4-4-2 now. From an attacking standpoint, I think it's a really good formation because you've got your wingers putting balls in. You've got 2-4, but obviously the one thing and obviously I don't coach at the level we just Labrie coaches at, but everything I've struggled at in a 4-4-2 is when you haven't got the ball, and if you're playing against the three in there, you've got to then pull your wingers in and be super tight and compact, and it's hard, and I just think that's his thought process. He just doesn't want to get overrun in the middle of the pitch when we don't have the ball. But listen, I can't really criticise. I think Job, as I say, with the cards was on his mind. But Dan Neil was excellent tonight. But again, they're only young boys, aren't they? They are, man.
Yeah.
They're still like Riggs in his first season, Job's in his second, Neil's in his fourth season, I think. So they're still young lads, and they're gonna when they come up against big physical teams like your Millwalls and stuff, and they're up and at you. Listen, they roll their sleeves up and they try, and you know we'll be okay. We
Yeah.
will. They're good players,
Jonathan, I want to give a special mention to Luke O'Nien because tonight he made his 300th appearance for Sunderland. Fair play, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the image of what you want a Sunderland player to be, right? Somebody who, as you guys said, was versatile. He's got that ability to just be a pain. If I was to use a very Canadian symbol, if we were talking hockey, I would call him a agitator, because he bothers the other team, and you can see it because they'll go down, and he immediately starts blaming them. When you look at it, it's very obvious he's the one who's done this, but it seems to rattle them to a degree, and I think that's where his value is as a member of the team, and he is kind of the image of what you want the team to be like. You want the team to be hardworking. You want the team to be willing to get to the edge of the line without necessarily going over, but yet still be able to do it and not be afraid and timid and hiding from things like certain players that we will not name on this podcast who used to be on this team and basically did nothing when they were on the field. You end up with so many times where that's unusual rather than being the norm. And that's why his longevity is so great. I mean, this is a player who's been with us for a long time now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, and Sean, I think you'll back me up. Like, listen, we don't want a Messi. We want a person that gives like 100% every game, like a full-blooded tackle. Player gives it all. You know what I mean? We've had flair players in the past, haven't we? Like we've had like Jack Carini.
Yeah.
And he was a good player, but he didn't really suit the player, like Ricky Alvarez. But I mean, if you got like a Catterwall or a Luke O'Nien or a Kevin Ball, do you know what I mean? That's the sort of player we like, isn't it?
I was gonna say, as a kid, man, right? Like I loved Bally. I did. I loved Bowley. I loved John Kay. You know, I love these type of players. Martin Scott, Macon, you know, just the grafters and like, you know, and it's in the Sunderland DNA, isn't it? It's all we ask, you know, and look, you've got to love him. There's a reason that every manager keeps him around.
Yeah.
There is, you know, it's no coincidence that no matter who comes in the door, the kid plays, and he must be brilliant in the dressing. He must be, man, because he you know, he just when he's having a bad spell, he comes through it. When he's asked to do a job in a position he's not used to, he does it. I was critical, and I still am. I still think if we can get Ballon mid centre back, I'd play the two of them because I think physicality wise and aerial balls and stuff, they're better. But you cannot knock the kid, and when he comes in and he plays, he's Mr. Sunderland, and you know, 300 appearances, fair play to the kid, you know.
Well, because I think the last person to do that was Cattermole or John O'Shea, maybe.
It would have been Cattermole, wouldn't it? You would think, yeah.
And I mean, and this is like considering that the first game he played against Charlton, he was hooked after 45 minutes.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing.
And so like fair play to Luke O'Nien.
Do you know as well, right? He comes. We signed him as a midfielder, and how many games, Lee, is he playing midfield? I would guess under 10. Now again, I don't know this, but I would argue in 300 games he's played under 10 and under in midfield. Do you think?
My memory is of him at Wembley because I was there, the Wickham final when he made that tackle at the end of the game.
Yeah, he gave it a come on, didn't he?
Yeah.
But
but apart from that, yeah.
He's played. Honestly, I would say under 10 or under. I'm going to look it up. How many games? When it's mint, right? Go on his Wikipedia. I don't know if it's still on, right? I used to love it. It used to say Luke O'Nien, left back, centre back, midfield, strike. It had every position he'd played. When you looked at Luke O'Nien on his Wikipedia, amazing. The only one he hasn't played is in goal. You know.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, Jonathan, right, so to kind of wrap up this then, we've now that we've got this match out of the way early, we've got a Sheffield Wednesday QPR tomorrow. I mean, ideally we'd love a QPR win, but I mean, is it a case of now of just listen, let's focus on ourselves, our results, and if we win, great. Whatever happens elsewhere, happens. Do you think that should be the case now?
I think at this point, yeah, if we were in third and we were like 1 or 2 points behind Burnley, then, or not Burnley. Is it Burnley that's in second? Sorry.
Burnley and then Sheffield United.
Yeah.
Right. If we were where Sheffield United was and we were right on their tail and it was just a matter of just waiting for them to draw a game and move in front, I could totally see that. But at the same time, you can't do anything about it now. You've just got to play your games and you've got to win your games and worry about what happens maybe the last few games of the season when you're like right there. Because at the end of the day, you can't be sitting there regretting not making automatic qualification if you're in the playoffs because you got another chance to get there. So don't give up on it. And, you know, there's times where you win those and go up. So why wouldn't you want to? But yeah, I mean, do we all want to go in as an automatic qualifier? Yeah, absolutely. Would we want to win the championship and not have to go through all this nonsense? Even better. But at the same time, right now, just focus on, I mean, the team is doing this probably is they're focusing on what they can handle and control and everything else will work as it does. And you hope for the best, but you can't guarantee that. So you may as well just keep plugging along.
Yeah. I mean, Sean, my thought of process is, listen, we've got 65 points. We're only 5 points behind Sheffield United. They've got a game in hand, obviously. I mean, they're easily catchable, but I think that if we're going to catch them, we have to do a lot more.
You know, we've done it.
And I think we're capable of a lot more.
We've done it in the past, right? I think Roy Keane's team that won the league didn't come into the top two till April. Peter Reid's team in '98, I shouldn't quote them because they fell off in the playoffs, but they went into the top two in April as well. If this team gets in the top two, we're going up. There's no way we're throwing it away. So it can be done. And like you say, you've just got to win your game. Because in third and fourth, there isn't any pressure, man. There isn't, because the pressure now is on Sheffield United. Leeds have won the league, I think they have. The pressure's on Sheffield United. And listen, they've still got to play Burnley, if I think right. And they've still got to play Middlesbrough. They've still got to
Coventry, yep.
Yeah, they've still got some big games now. It only takes us to get within a couple of points of them with a few games to go. And suddenly you think, hello, you know, and as I say, looking back at good Sunderland promotions in the past, We haven't always been top and steamrolled it. We've nicked in April and held on, and we can do it again. But like you say, just take care of ourselves.
But would you like to see us make that change, though? Be more on the front foot and play.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, like listen, I want to see it against Cardiff. I want to see we go 4-4-2, and I want to see we get at them and get a nice, comfortable 2-3, 4-0. I'd love that. I'd be buzzing. But I think, like Jonathan said earlier, he's not going to. He isn't. He's not. He's just going to go to what he does because he's going to go. Well, it's worked up to now, so we can all wish, and we've all got opinions on a back three and get two forwards or a 4-4-2, but he's not going to. Unfortunately, because he would have done it by now, wouldn't he? So,
Jonathan, why do you think he's done that though? Why do you think he's gone from like such front foot attack and play at the start of the season to like being more conservative now?
Yeah, my feeling with all of this comes down to the fact that you, as a football manager, you're going to be like, or coach, your concern is to win games. Your concern is not about scoring and looking great because, your job is reliant on you winning games. And if in this case, it's not necessarily about promotion for him, but about, being there or thereabouts, then he can't afford to lose. So in that case, maybe he's more concerned about the losing than he is about the winning. And maybe that's why we're bluntly losing games that we shouldn't be losing and drawing games maybe we shouldn't be drawing.
Do you think that's because of the lack of knowledge of the league? Because like obviously the French league doesn't have 46 games like the Championship does. It has much less.
Well, I mean, I'm not by any means a knowledgeable person towards what he played in France. What I did read about sounds like this is kind of how he plays.
Yeah.
Which is why he got fired last time because they weren't doing well. And I think in Italy he was doing something similar. So I just think this is what he's familiar with. This is what he prefers. I mean, if you watched those behind the scenes training videos at the beginning, when he starts talking about it, you can see him very much focusing in on where are your feet, where are your movement, what are you doing? And it's more about positioning and defense. And instead of, I maybe he's more like, attackers know how to attack, but defending is something you have to teach.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he's so focused on it. But I also feel like that's kind of his bread and butter. It's what he's familiar with. It's how, teams that he's in. And most of the time he's had small squads that have gotten higher up than they maybe should have because they're playing that style. Right. So It's just in this case, he's dealing with a side that for the championship isn't a small squad. And he's still teaching him that way.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to add one other thing, which I would argue was the reason why we were having so much trouble last year, because we had the opposite thing where they weren't playing defensively well and things were just getting out of control.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, I think it's fair to kind of like give him the benefit of the doubt that he might have undermined the challenge of the championship because it is 46 games a season. It is like the toughest league in the world, isn't it? Really, in terms of, I mean, I was speaking to a friend of mine. He's like a season ticket holder of a third division, like League One level Spanish team, right? And they're only semi-pro, and he said like the third division, the third tier of Spanish football, isn't a patch on League One of England. So like imagine like championship 46 games a season compared to the French league. Do you think Regis like is a bit undermined and he's still learning, but he needs to learn quick?
See, again, I've been vocal in the NASA group where I think the championship's crap. Listen, I've said I watch every team and think I've seen Leeds look pretty good, and every other team I've looked at them with the shite, the bang average, we're better than all of them. And I get criticised because I go, we should be winning every game of football in that league because every team's the same. No one worries us. And I just don't buy into this. Oh, it's a really good league. I watch games and go, this is dreadful. So, but again, I think when you're coming from the league and you don't know much about it, like you've said, the physicality, the demands of the league, it can be a change. But you'd think by now, he's into February now, March, February, he should be getting to grips with it better in terms of of an attacking, like going back to the start of the season, while pressing were really good. And I understand it's hard to get both ends of the game right. It really is. Because like Jonathan said again last season, we were a bit too gung ho. There was times last season we're drawing a game and you're thinking, just sit in, boys, just figure it out. And they were going for the game. You're thinking you're coming undone at the other end, And I thought that's a bit of naivety. I think this year it's went full circle, and he's thinking he's made a lot more solid. But it's at times you think, oh my word, just kill them off, or just keep the ball better. And yeah, he's got to learn, because going into the playoffs, which again I keep talking about, but I think it is going to be, let's be realistic. But when sixth place, whoever it is, Blackburn or Coventry, sixth are always because they've gained a bit of momentum, haven't they? And like I've never known Sunderland have such a season where you're comfortably in the playoffs, and the team who finishes fifth and sixth are going to be bang up for it, and the team who finishes third are always on a downer because they've just missed out. So we really need to be positive and just say we're the best team out of this lot. We've got good players and we're just going to get at you. And if we go down swinging, we'll go down swinging, and we'll all just go, we had a go. But don't just sit back, man. It drives us mad,
Yeah. Jonathan, next week then we've got Cardiff at home. What do you reckon? Do you reckon he goes for the same team, or would you like to see a more attack-minded team?
I mean, I would like to see that, but I don't believe it.
I was going to say, I bet he does. I'll keep the same. Of course he will.
Yeah, I think he might switch up a couple of players, like Isidore maybe comes in. Who knows, right? But at the same time, I do believe he's not going to. He hasn't proven to me yet that he's going to do that. So why would he change now of all times? I mean, Cardiff's the perfect type of team to do that against because they're not that good.
Well, sorry, you say that, but he tried it against Plymouth and it come undone when he brought Samed in, and you're thinking, what you doing? Why are you going with two holding midfielders against these? Like, there's changing it and there's changing it. Like, don't change it and bring in a defensive midfielder. You don't need to. If you're gonna change it by bringing in Alexic, or going with two up top. Don't drive us mad and bring in Samad because he's got to get minutes in his legs against Cardiff and and underestimate them, like, because you come undone, because we do, So he's got to change it for the better, hasn't he? If he's going to change it.
Yep. Right, lads, we'll kind of wrap up there. But before I go, listen, if we don't make automatics, playoffs, Wembley, are you getting the ticket? Are you going?
I've booked my hotel. I have, and I'll just cancel it, won't I, if we don't make it? Like, but yeah, listen, of course I will. I haven't told the wife yet, because as I said, I'm going to Oasis in July. So like we're planning to, obviously we're heading across to Manchester for Oasis. So that's going to cost her. So I don't want to then tell her I might have to go in May as well. Honestly, she'll do a nut, But yeah, I'll wait until close at the time, and I'll get me little run up. As us men do, So yeah.
Jonathan, you haven't been over yet, have you not? I don't think, to the Statement Light.
No, I have not been, and
neither Wembley. But would it tempt you?
I've been by Wembley before. Would it tempt?
I wish I hadn't been.
Yeah. I would be tempted. I will grant you that. But I don't think this year is probably going to be my time. I'm aiming for next year to be able to go and actually see games. But the problem I've got, which is a very similar problem, I can't do it alone. I have to bring my wife, who's going to be like, I want to go here, and all these other places. So if I go, hey, let's go to Sunderland, she'd be like, what? So, but
Paradise.
Just tell it, listen, we've got Penshaw Monument, we've got South Shields, we've got Seaburn, Roker Beach, and we've got the Sunderland Fans Museum, which is a wonderful place.
You know what? Sorry, Lee, I'm just going to, I'm pleased you mentioned them. I wanted to end by just showing support to them, because I know they've been burgled again, haven't they?
Yeah,
and
it's the 15th time. Yeah,
it's disgusting, and I hope they catch the scum that place. I don't know if you've been, Lee. I've been many
times. It's a brilliant place.
It's a wonderful place.
Michael's a cracking guy, and we're hoping to get the Fans Museum football team, the mental health football team, to Bilbao to play against Athletic Club Bilbao's mental health team, and.
Wonderful place. They're doing a great thing. It's a cracking day on match day. It's a great, and I just hope that they just keep going and just keep in. The community needs to to help them out as well a bit more with this. It's wrong, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Right. Well, lads, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a bit of a longer episode than usual, but listen, it's been good crack as always.
Right.
Sean, Jonathan, thanks a lot, and I'll see you again soon.
cheers,
Thank
boys.
you.
Enjoy your night, lads.
How are
Take
the
care.
lads?
How are the lads? Cheers, boys.
Thank you.